Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Astro Joe here for RGV Aerial Photography, Starbase Weekly, episode 150, with the 201st flight. We've got a great set of pictures and updates from yesterday between 2 and 4 p.m. Central Time, Starbase time. But before we dive into that, I do want to turn it over to the big boss man himself with a special message. Mauricio, please join us.
Hey everyone, can you all hear me?
5x5.
Yeah. All right. So unfortunately, we did have some issues come up with one of our equipment. It's from the 200 to 600 millimeter lens. After so many flights, the pressure difference from taking it from 0 feet above ground level to 10,500. Apparently, this is our speculation. This is our theory of what might have happened to this lens. But the seals on that lens might have been compromised, or I don't know if that's a proper word for that, or pretty much changed over time. And that's been causing focusing issues on the camera, on the lens itself. So, yesterday I did bring up some concerns about that. More than 60% of the images were blurry and out of focus. So if you do see some of that in here, which I don't think we did, I think we got rid of all the blurry photos. So yeah, that was a big issue for us with the blurry images. So yeah, we needed a lens replacement, and the generous patrons actually offered to buy us a replacement for that 200 to 600 millimeter. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We already met the goal. I want to make that clear. We met that goal for the 200 to 600 millimeter lens, but there is a new lens that actually came out. It's a 400 to 800 millimeter, which is more range. That would give us a little bit extra, layman's terms, a little bit more zoom, perhaps. So it is an upgrade. So it's a little bit more expensive. So, right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to see if we can accumulate, get the rest, which is, I'll give Joe here, I'll pass it back to Joe here in a bit. Uh, but it looks like we're about $800 from reaching that particular goal. I got to do the math real quick. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to thank all the generous patrons that donated yesterday. They were really quick. I think we met the goal like in less than, I don't know. I don't know if anybody was keeping track, but I think it might have been less than like 15 minutes or 20 minutes. We had already met the goal. So they were really generous. Uh, Joe will mention whoever is available to just to give them a shout out and thank them. I want to thank them personally for assisting us with that. It's a huge help. We're finally going to get equipment that works. So that's a big. It was a bit stressful when this was going on. Editing the photos, and not to say that we're actually up there burning through fuel a lot longer because we had to keep reshooting the same images over and over because they were blurry after reviewing them. So I'd have to tell the pilot, hey, we need to do, one more orbit. Then we do that orbit, they're still blurry. Let's do another orbit. So it's time consuming. That's going to save us money on the long run, save us oxygen. Not to say that, right now we filled up the oxygen tank last time and it was $100 for the can of oxygen that we had from me and Fred. And right now we're at about a quarter just because, we're up there for so high and so forth. And before, Wibble Baggins, I just saw you drop $100 for the lens. I'm going to drop the PayPal link here shortly to the YouTube chat here. And I'm going to pin it so that this actually goes directly towards the fund. Those are $100 Wibble Baggins. Anything extra that does go through additional to that, it's going to go, I saw how much the oxygen is, so I'm going to use that towards that. So everything's going to go towards the flights, either oxygen, fuel expenses, but primarily right now, we're trying to, for it to go towards the 400 to 800 millimeter. It's about $2,800. We do want to get insurance. I have not seen it. It actually hasn't gone on sale yet. I believe it's going to go on sale today at B&H or directly through the Sony website. And I haven't seen what the insurance is going to cost, but it's $2,800, plus taxes and then plus what the insurance is. Call it between $200 to $300 on the insurance. It's typically for about 4 years. So we definitely want to get insurance this time around. We learned our lesson. We had insurance on this one. We'd probably just be sending it in for replacement. A couple other things about this other lens is we get it refurbished. We have to pay for that. But that's actually a good thing because we get to have a backup lens for the primary equipment for the 400 to 800. I've already talked a lot. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll pass it back to Joe.
Awesome, Mauricio. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a bunch. I'm going to go ahead and knock out those Patreon donations from last night real quick. From Event Dudes, $1,111.11. Our very own Todd, who we've got on stream here today, $100. Richard D with another $100. And Indian Star with $150. I had a Rich R for $300. Jeff P for $500. Colin C for $200, and another Ken B was on a limited fund, but appreciate that donation as well. And Michael Sladenak with $200. And with that, I'll turn it over to your host today, Stephanie.
G'day, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's show number 150. That's a bit of a milestone. And yeah, already the generosity shown in chat already. Before we start, Massey, Joe, just want to read those out before we get started?
Yeah, sure. And I want to thank Wilbo Baggins for that 100 curly L's for the camera lens. Yazada, $10 for the lens fund. Bob Fillmore, Canadian, $69.99. Thanks, RGV. Keep on keeping on. We appreciate all that support, y'all.
Okay, back to the show. So today I have Lawrence. G'day, Lawrence.
Good day, Stephanie. Good day to our RGV community out there, and it's going to be a great show with some great picks.
And Excuse me. And I've also got Todd with us today. G'day, Todd.
Hey, Steph. Good day, everybody. Yeah, those pictures last night turned out great, even though I know there were a lot of them that were not usable. The show and tell was absolutely awesome. He was able to get pictures of just about everything that we're going to want to talk about and see. So let's keep up the support, everybody. Remember that PayPal address, and let's get this show going.
Okay, let's start over at Massey's. Yeah, with him amongst the difficult circumstances, RGV have done an awesome job here getting these photos to us. And as you can see, they're in amongst some of the bad photos, there's heaps of awesome, really good photos. So we'll have a good show no matter what. Let's start over here at the back of Massey's. A couple of things here at Massey's. Oops, that's not the photo. We can see last week there was some concrete getting prepared to be laid. Now they're laying concrete. We can actually see the truck down there getting washed out. They're using this area over here for a washout for that particular pour. The big thing to note though in this photo is the work going on in the flame trench. This seems to be fairly significant. I don't know about significant, but more than what we've seen before. We can see some older panels here looking a bit shabby. And I'm not sure whether this is to do with these panels over here we've seen for quite a while. They do look very similar, so I'm guessing maybe they have something to do. What do you guys think?
I was kind of thinking that too. Definitely. I mean, we also don't know if, like you said, is this maintenance or is this a lot of damage from that long static fire they had? So it's really interesting to see what's coming out of there. I don't think anyone's able to place where those plates came from, but I'm pretty sure they look a little cooked. So definitely curious to see what's going on in there.
Yeah, I would agree that those are probably after that long duration. I think they probably needed to do some deep cleaning and maintenance on the trench.
There's some newer parts here. Actually, on second look, I just think that may be the same size as that. They look a little bit smaller, but anyway. So there's a few different pieces here. Look new here and there that perhaps are going to get put in place. So we're not sure. We never really saw if they put steel blast panels on the side of the trench down here beside the bucket. We remember we saw the big flame bucket getting put in. I remember beside the flame bucket there was this fairly large void underneath the concrete here, with the wall being over this side and this little bit of cantilever concrete up here. Quite a large beam just here at the top. I remember when it was getting built. So could be some upgrades, could be some preventative maintenance. Could have just done a lot of damage. I mean, we did also notice last week the concrete has been damaged slightly. I'm not sure whether we saw that before the 1 minute static fire though. We were joking a couple of weeks ago on the show and tell. At least now it's easy to get down. It's almost like a little staircase. It looks like they're going to continue that concreting down the back. Where is the photo? This one. Apologies there. And we can see some of the old footings from the old water treatment plant here with an excavator here. So we may see this bit getting filled in as well. And of course I harp on every week, when are they going to concrete this strip? It annoys me no end that this one piece has still not been concreted after all these years. So hopefully they'll continue concreting along this area.
Other than being just visually annoying, it's like they're doing such a little strip in the back. I wonder what's going to go back there that requires them that they need to concrete that versus a big area onto the right where they have a lot of room that they could be using for stuff. So it's just strange on top of annoying.
I think there's been some speculation that the reason they're doing that back edge has been due to maybe possible erosion and stuff.
That would make sense for sure.
Yeah.
Now this week, because of the difficulties with the lens, so the redshift has been moved up a little bit, or however you want to say that, with colour correction. So I was confused that we saw a new run through here, but that's just some of the electrical that's always been there. It's just showing up a bit more with the colour correcting going on today. Just on a side note quickly, we're just going to have a quick look at this bunker, how this bunker's designed with the legs underneath, and how this one's in two parts as it got here, just for reference from the launch site a bit later on in the show, but more of that later on.
Steph, those gas canisters, those are from the Pad A deluge system. They moved them down from up at the edge. Is that correct?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
So
that is
yeah,
correct.
they were sitting here last week. Yeah, and they've come from the launch site on the far right bank of high pressure, looking from the highway side, the far right bank of high pressure gas tanks at the Deluge farm at the launch site. And so 50-50 whether they've moved them here to use them here, which is more likely the case, or they've just got them out of the way to do this concreting. Either way, I'm not sure. Now, with the longer static fire, maybe they had some issues. Maybe they need some more gas storage here for the high pressure gas system, which I think has something to do with starting the water deluge system to get the thing going before the actual nitrogen gas generation system takes over, which they use this tank for. So I'm not sure what's going on with them. We may see that there was some more put in here. Actually, they've been moved too. Remember there was a couple... Oh no, there it is there, sorry. There was a new... There's two there, that's right. They were put in a couple of weeks ago. So maybe they're upgrading that high pressure gas system in here even further than those tanks. I mean, those tanks obviously are put in there for a reason and not just for storage. So I think there's three all up in there, 2 and 1 perhaps. Just seeing if I've got a shot over in that angle. Not really. Oh, good. Thank you, Todd. Okay, moving along. Just while we're here quickly too, we'll go over to the LOX tank. Whoops, that's not the photo. 1 second. This photo, no. Okay, this photo will show it for sure. Right. We can see last week they started with some more concrete, breaking concrete up to put some more tank mounts in for another tank. And of course, in the past we saw these concrete mounts being put in for tanks as well. If we have a quick look over at the ports, we can see arrived on a boat we think are the two tanks to do for Massey's, those two spots. So one will be for extra LOX and one should be for extra methane, liquid methane. And the tank over the back we're assuming is for the 5th tank for the launch site. More about that later for the water deluge farm. So we should see them delivered over the next short while. There's nothing over here anymore. There's no scraps of any of the previous boosters in here. It's all pretty well gone now. So they've learnt what they learnt and scrapped what they had to scrap. Okay, let's move on to our little mystery plate, which is no longer a mystery. We're pretty certain this is for a new cryo stand, and I think Zach was talking about it last week, where we think the new stand is because the new booster, the quick disconnect is orientated differently on the booster, so it means the rams probably won't line up properly on the old booster cryo stand, so they need a new cryo stand with a new placement for the booster for the puck shucking actuators, the rams. I see in chat on X there's quite a few people still speculating what this is, but it's pretty obvious. I think we're pretty sure it's like 99% obvious what that is.
Yeah, this base pretty much lines up with the current cryo stand.
Yeah, I agree with the location, the way they're doing it. I'd be shocked if it was anything else right now.
There's just a few more top panels to put on, and looks like they're already putting concrete in, or some of them, they look like they've had concrete put in, and these here look like they have not had concrete put in them yet. So this whole thing's concrete filled, as opposed to the other one, it was like bare concrete here. So as with the new tower, tower for Pad B, they're sort of changing from just bare concrete into this composite where it's steel with concrete on the centre. And composite builds are usually quite good. The end strength is usually greater than the sum of the two strengths of the materials. Just to go up on a tangent there, some of the model airplanes we apply a composite and they become very, very strong and very, very light once you start doing them. Some of this laminating with the laminating of steel over concrete. So we don't use steel over concrete, obviously, but fiberglass over foam. Side has it moved? This week we've got an awesome look into the new test structure, and I remember last week we had over by this building here, we had the two rings sitting down here with the rams on them, and now they have been installed. So that's the centre 3 and then the middle 10 and then the outer 20 engines. We look closely in here. The outer 20 engine mount rams, testing rams are around this circle, and then on the very outside are the 20 pull down rams which get attached to the cap via these rods down the back, if you remember over the last few weeks.
Yeah, this angle and the view is just amazing. I know we were having problems with the lens, but this is what we really got to give Mauricio credit for, spending the time to get these shots, because it's so clear in there right now. It's such a great shot.
It's definitely well and truly worth him orbiting back around a few times to get these couple of shots. And that's what this whole community is about, getting these awesome images so we can have a good look inside things, look around things. And as far as I know, Mauricio is pretty unique. RGV aerial photography is pretty unique with these photo sets that he comes up with each week. As far as detail, clarity, and the amount of details he's able to capture in each image. So last week we saw an extra clamps up in, extra actuator mounts up in here. Still not entirely sure what they're for. And a couple of platforms up in here as well. They show up a lot better this week. And being a stand they can modify and adjust for different testing, we can see they've welded a I-beam, a fairly well reinforced I-beam at that actually. Now I look at it for a second time. And I'm not sure where that is on the booster compared to the actual booster, but didn't we see, Lawrence, didn't we see somewhere a new booster quick disconnect hanging around the part that sits on the ground? And perhaps they might be doing, maybe they'll be using this beam for some kind of testing on the booster quick disconnect of the next, I guess it's 18.1's coming here next.
That's definitely a possibility, and we did see that a while ago over at Sanchez. We at least saw the faceplate sitting being worked on. So there's still a lot of speculation about what's actually happening, and we'll get to that when we get to the launch site.
Very good. So questions asked, can this be used for a ship in the future? I guess so. In the future they may have to have some kind of adapter ring to put on the clamps here, like a booster bottom and a booster top sort of adapter, so that you can sit a ship on top with the clamps. But as it sits now, there's no way this is useful at all for a ship. So she's pure booster right now. But as we saw, the first article that went in here was a ship article. Now it's been converted back to its, I think its original plan was for this to be booster, because we're looking at, they're looking at the new Block 2 boosters, hopefully from booster 18 onwards, we think.
Yeah, I still think we're going to see this go back and forth depending on what they need to test. They'll do a few booster sections and booster parts, and then they'll do ship stuff as a new ship is being designed. I really expect this to be the all-encompassing test structure for multiple different things and areas of the ships and boosters. So I don't think it's ever going to stay one way.
I agree.
Yes, I agree too. Yeah, so we've already seen it iterate from ship to booster once, and perhaps back again. The funny thing is this nose cone jail, although it's not a nose cone jail so much anymore, is still here and they haven't pulled it down. So whether that indicates they may use this for some ship barrels still in the future, I'm unsure. It's just weird that it's still there if they're never going to use it. But I guess it's one of those low priority things they don't really need to change. Okay, there's a bit of plumbing work in here. We kind of speculating loosely what this is about. Because obviously there's going to be some more plumbing work for this new tank. It seems a bit early to get that underway. IndyStar came up with an idea and we couldn't say no because that little manifold there appears very much like the top of this tank over here. I'm not saying that's what it's going to be for, but full marks to IndyStar for seeing that matches. So that may have something to do with that. Like I say, it's a bit hard to tell for now, but as I said, everyone speculates in show and tell with us. There's no real no's, so that could very much be a possibility. We're only speculating mostly as it is. And we get to eat crow every now and again, of course. Now while we're here, there's a new drilling rig. Is there a better angle of it? Oh, there's the rig anyway. There's some, oh, there they are. The flights for it are here. The C, what do they call that? Flights, the augers for the drill.
Yeah, constant flight auger.
That's it, CFAs. So that's going to drill, of course, the piles for that new LOX tank, as we've seen ad nauseum in the past. They've seen that ever since they've started Pad B, they seem to be very much fixated on putting piles under everything, and quite a lot of them. I think Pad A gave them that lesson in a big, big way. That's a better photo. Okay, what else is at Massey's? The usual odds and sods laying around here and there. Just look down the front. Down the front,
there was that new mystery structure on the right that we still have no idea what it's for, at least unless somebody else has come up with something since then. The small ring.
Oh yeah, yep, that's still there. Yeah, I got an idea. I mean, it could very much be for the rams for this. We may see a similar pair of rings for the centre 13 engines as we do in here. Perhaps that's part of that system. Sort of it's all that's around that would need such a structure. Does it indicate it's got 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Sort of doesn't indicate one way or another whether it's 3, maybe 1, 2, 3 across that way for the rams. Yeah, it's interesting. And down here, there's still frames. We're not sure where they're going yet. There's still a heap of rams actuators sitting around, maybe some older ones. Because there's a lot, and there's rams up here as well for the 5. The upper mounts in here, there's the upper mounts for 5 rams they can put on the crusher cap as well to help with adding lateral forces. That's sitting up in here, those 5. There's still a few rams sitting around. I guess they'll need some more rams for these new actuator mounting points down on there. And like I said, I counted them up one day, there's quite a few rams between that 40 and 13 and that 5 and that 5. That soon adds up to a lot of actuators. So somewhere in here, there's quite a complicated little control circuit to make sure all those rams do exactly what they need to be done and measuring exactly right. It's quite it may look like a simple, large steel cumbersome structure, but it's quite intricate in its control work and it's all the data that's going to produce. Okay, we'll quickly do these other couple of sites here. This photo will do. So we can still see lots of these skids, empty skids and made up skids, all for the Pad B's new pump farm. There's another manifold just like this over at Sanchez at the GC building. Just some manifold for, I think, Alex did mention what that was, I forgot. So many things to keep track of here.
Yeah, and so many of those skids. What did we come up with? 11 of them total. Like, what was it, 4 or 5 built, and the rest of them in stages of being built? That just shows you the size of the tank farm's going to be when it's done. Or they're everywhere.
Yeah, there's 8 in here built, I think, and yeah, another how many. So they're coming in like this. That's upside down, I think they were saying. They can stack as well. Oh, this photo shows, maybe the other photo's better. Yeah, this photo's better. They can actually stack. They're a bit like those, you use them in scaffolding. It's like a system where you can stack like bins on top of each other. There's a post and there's like a flange on top that the next one sits into. They seem to be sort of using that system to deliver them, and then they're converted into these nice looking skids. Some of them I think were coming pre-assembled, but mostly they're getting assembled here.
I wonder
We've
if
got
they've
another
got like
new.
locking.
Oh, sorry.
I wonder if they've got like a locking structure for making them, stacking them up to the size of containers so they can ship easier that way. I don't think, personally, I haven't seen them come in on any trucks other than actually delivering at the site. I haven't seen them come in the bulk unbuilt sections yet. So I wonder if that's why they're so modular like that.
Yeah, I've just seen them come in the empty. I have seen them come in empty, but besides that, yeah, I think they're just making it so when they do the installs, it just makes the install that much quicker. And before we move on, I want to point out that boom right there. Do those 2 front pieces look shinier than the rest? That's the SpaceX LR11K boom. So if you look at the 2 booms that are parallel to the main group of them, we've suspected they're getting maintenance done. I know there's a lot of questions about that, but that's where the SpaceX LR11K boom is sitting, and that's why.
Yeah, because remember there's speculation whether it's just getting moved or it's getting maintenance or it's getting reconfigured. So that does, fair enough. That sort of shows a bit of maintenance evidence there. I've got another new site. I'm not sure. This is near at Astra site. It's nearby this other site. Not sure what's going on there yet. Before I go any further, though, Joe, I'll get you to jump in and give us more donations and questions, please.
Sure thing. Sounds good. We've got, I want to thank 55 Chevy Guy Steve for gifting 5 memberships, as well as Jake Winlow gifting 5. I got to thank Pete 2.0 for 20 Australian dollar Lens Fund. Wilbo Baggins, £2. Support RGV. Repeat. That's a great message. Thank Booster 1058 Cashew Crew for becoming a member, as well as a €5 donation. RGB, repeat, copycat. Thanks for that. Got more PayPal donations coming in here. I'm going to report on those. Thank you, Michelle Nichols, for $20 donation. William D. for 10. Jacob Winlow for 100. Vincent B. for 100. Stephen K. for 100. DLB for 50. And Wilbo Baggins again with another 100 donation in PayPal in addition to the YouTube Super Chat. Thank you very much for that, Wilbo. Give me a second while I pull up the second screen here. We've got CSI Starbase, Mr. Zach with $50 donation. Hugh G, $66 donation. Anna B, 30, and Tony T for 10. Thank you very much for that. I also have one more here. From Cumulus Granitis, $100 for the Lens Fund and $66.78 for Oxygen. And thank you all very much for that. That is the support, and we are currently clear on questions.
That's amazing support. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I turned up my mic, so hopefully y'all can hear me better.
Cool.
That's a little better.
That's
Thank
amazing
you.
Support from that community there. I'm lost for words, but gratitude on behalf of the RGB team for all that generous donations. That's awesome. Good on you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys all so much. I love this community. Thank you. It's just all going to make everything better for everybody. So I appreciate every one of you.
Y'all make it possible for us to do this, and we really appreciate your help.
Okay, let's go on to Sanchez. So let's start over here for a change. So still no more of the slides arrived yet, and they seem to be stalled once again on the new booster transport stands. So perhaps they're not in as much of a hurry as they thought they were there a while ago. But that's still continuing to be worked on. Just trying to find that little manifold. I thought I saw one in here. It was the same as what we saw over there at the storage lot. Was in here. Maybe it's at the launch site. Oh, there it is. Looks similar to that one. Okay, let's go to the OLM. Everybody's favourite piece of equipment of late. You see they're continuing to put elbows in. So I guess they're fixing their little mistake of where they put. So I thought maybe the pipe on the outside was the mistake, but it appears the mistake was the manifold on the actual pancake was the mistake. If it's a mistake or whatever, oversight, whatever you want to call it. So more of the elbows are getting put on. There's still lots of generators here. I was coming on this on show and tell that there is power at these stations now. So they remember they put all these these power outlet systems all the way through Sanchez. But the amount of welders we see here would overload any sort of built-in system. So they've got some generators here to power the multitudes of, and that's quite a lot of welders, to be honest.
Yeah, and those are pretty big welders. Those are not little tiny garage welds. Obviously not garage welds, but those are decent. They pull some power.
Hang on, are they got a motor in them or not? I can't remember.
I don't think so. Those don't look like any of them that have motors in them.
Yeah, plus on top of the welding, they're also using heating pads to heat up the metal before the welds. So they need as much power as they can get on that massive structure.
I can't imagine how hot it gets in there when they're doing everything. That would just ugh.
Yeah, plus the Texan heat and humidity, it would be a challenging environment. Sputnik Geezer, I'll reiterate, speaking for all of us, if I may, and you may, we appreciate you all, and we all do very much so. Well, we appreciate everything you guys are doing for us.
Hey, Steph, Lawrence, did they paint the sides of it? Or is it just the angle?
Some of it has been finished off with the paint and whatever protection they use on top of the welds, and it looks like they finished most of the exterior plating as well.
Nice, thank you.
Especially on that face side of the highway, we've seen some photos. I'll give Starship Gazer Ryan a big shout out that he's got some photos through there. We might have some photos too. We've got some ground photos too to go through. I haven't gone through all the ground photos. I probably should be showing some of the ground photos now as we go. I might work on that in a minute. So yeah, especially on that highway side, they've closed up a lot of the holes. I think this face, let me get this right. I don't think this face is the one going towards the gantry. We worked this out last night.
Actually, that should be the north face of it.
The north. So the gantry on that side.
The gantry to the right of your hand.
Oh, that one?
Yeah, that should be the gantry side.
Yeah, that's right. It's about 180 degrees out. Yeah, we're looking from the back of the site. Yep. That's what they said.
Yeah, because of what we've seen for the deluge coming into what will be coming into the trench, and we'll be going over that when we get there.
Absolutely. So I got much more scaffolding. Hang on, there's a better image. This is what Mauriccio's talking about. See this bit of lens effect in here. And I apologise, I'm not supposed to be showing images like that, but anyway, here we are. Let's try this image. That's a bit better. So there's some scaffolding, 2 levels of scaffolding put up. So they're continuing on their welding up in this area now, welding all the pipes together. And we can see so this here, for everyone who's still sceptical as to which way around this flame trench goes, this is the top ridge, and that's the bottom of the flame bucket. This is the top ridge that's going to face the engines. So there'll be a ridge here for the matching side way over there. Will join together. So these are the wrong way around, and they're laying flat. This will be the angle bit, and that'll be the flat bit. And this is marking out, I guess, the different zones for the drilling of the holes for actually underneath the actual engines as the booster lights its engines up and goes for launch.
That's correct. That's where they're expecting the exhaust to actually be hitting the steel diverter.
Exactly, yeah. There's a different angle. Cool. So over this side, there's not much to see around there. Okay, still a few of those jigs to go in to Star Factory, which is still, I keep saying, that means that they haven't quite finished Star Factory inside still. Or they're still iterating in there, or still working out how they're working in the actual factory. I've got some new parts here, couldn't quite work out what they are. They look like 2 frames and a couple of different frames to go with them, perhaps, and maybe some flat pieces to go with them. And so some weird angles here, looks a little bit like the gantry angle perhaps, but that's nothing, that's only wild speculation once again.
Yeah, I would suspect those are either for the gantry or the tower. Those are the only things I can think of.
So over here we saw the panels for the tower. Oh, excuse me. And now being relocated over here to get them out of the way. So I guess we can expect to see something else being used, that little bay being used for something else. I've moved these around a little bit. There's a better photo of that. They're the stabilizer arms that go beneath the chopsticks for the lower stabilizer point on the booster and ships. I think last week there was 5 of 6 parts. Now there's only 4 of 6 parts here.
Yeah, we're missing 2 parts, which means they're probably in a tent someplace getting painted or other work done.
Still have this heap of vacuum jacketed pipes here for more probably to go around to the commodities, around to the. I guess one of the big runs still needs to be done is from the bunker to the actual tower and from the bunker to the actual trench over at the launch site.
Do we know what size those are?
Yeah, big.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex does keep saying there's so many different size pipes. He's got a good. He's keeping a tally on those pipes. I feel like that's something I should know.
I think the LOX run is a 24-inch and the methane is a 20-inch from the labels we've seen.
Yeah, that sounds about right, actually. Let me say that. Thank you. Okay, over the scrapyard. So I was just checking time. Over the scrapyard, we can see there's no more remnants of ship 32. I've got to be careful these days with numbers. We're getting so many numbers around these days, it's getting a little tricky to track.
Yeah, and I think since the last flyover, we've had Test Tank 16 added to the collection.
Well, hopefully it doesn't hang around as long as the hot stage ring. That baffles me why they're still there, because, I mean, they're on to booster block 2 now, and looking at the built-in hot stage sections, so I'm really confused as to why they're still there. Once again, low priority, I guess. We did notice, I don't think whether we mentioned it last week in the show, but there was some decent They put some decent dints in that test tank by the time they finished with it. Which is good to see them doing some destructive testing.
Just really makes you wonder why some of that stuff, I mean, some of that stuff goes in a blink of an eye, and then these sit around for who knows how long and never get used. It just makes you wonder.
Like Ship 26's nose cone that's still sitting there between the two boosters.
Yeah, 1,000 odd people in chat. Let's not look at that. Okay, still got nose cone. Let me think here. 26, isn't it? Nose cone.
Yes.
And we've been reiterated again this morning. Booster 12 and booster 15.
Yeah, the fact that they put the cap on 15 seems like they just needed a place to store it.
It's a pity because 15's the only one with the extra structure in the top, so I still don't get to look at it, unfortunately. I think booster 16, didn't booster 16 have its cap on as well?
Yes.
Oh, it's not. It's last week's image, isn't it? Sorry. That was last week's photos.
That's correct.
Booster 16 came back off the cryo stand. So yeah, there's this top part of the booster cryo test rig still to be mounted to that bottom ring with that bottom circular plate we see at Massey's. So there's that whole second level that's still to come, which I think people are getting a bit confused. I think people might have been thinking they're going to sit the booster on the bottom plate over there on X when RGB posted a photo of the bottom plate. But yeah, there's a whole another level with all the clamps and everything on yet. Oh, sorry. I'm silly. Over here, this whole top, sorry. Oops.
Yeah, I was going to say, that looks like the ship stand.
That's the ship one. I know that. No, don't mind me. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, all this top section. Oh, that was a bit embarrassing. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, Sanchez. How are we going? Do we cover everything, Sanchez? I think we got most of it.
I don't think there was anything else that really stood out that, we'll probably find something crazy later, but I don't think anything stood out that I can recall from last night.
That's correct. And is there a good shot of the mural?
Yes, there is. Hang on. So the day before the flyover, RGV was kind enough to go out and do some ground photos for us. And yeah, there's the new mural from RGV. So a couple of things to note. I think this has already gone around the traps ad nauseum. I think we've got the actual next version of booster and some sort of leg action going on as well. It's much the same. The domes are the same. I think it's zoomed in just slightly. There's another slight change. And yeah, the newer version of ships. It's a good mural, actually. It almost looks livable. I mean, it'd be totally different to living on Earth, obviously, living on Mars, but it looks like it's sort of doable. Let's see if we got any Massey's quickly. No, I can't see any Massey's photos. But here's just while we're here, here's the new OLM structure. I haven't actually looked at these photos yet.
Yeah, you can see the sides.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, from that last one, you can definitely see the sides are looking a lot more finished.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was looking for. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that makes it really clear.
I'm silly. I knew this was the side. This is the side that goes to the gantry, and it's possibly part of the gantry has something that ties in with this little gap of holes here, which could have something to do with the booster quick disconnect. Yeah, there's still a lot of speculation going on around that. Strange how just in one part of the whole plate it changes into these little holes. So the holes on the outside were Kind of not sure whether there's more manifolds on here. Perhaps not on these two sides, this and the back side. It might be more like some kind of, I think, once again, it's been speculated before, some kind of apron might end up being welded onto the side here yet to help protect the infrastructure, like that pipe, something to go over the top of this pipe, for instance. Although that's got the elbows on it, so I'm not sure. I've really got no idea. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, there's been speculation that those large holes are because they're just going to flood every place with water.
The Booster 15 got a little bit charred, a bit more charred than Booster 12, for instance, and that someone suggested in show and tell that maybe because of the new version of ship takeoff was a bit slower to get away from the booster, and so burnt it a bit for a little bit longer, perhaps.
That's possible, as well as like there was a more direct hit from the ship onto it compared to the previous flights.
So this guy's got the big job of having this little hand sander and running around trying to smooth out the top deck now. I'm sure it's just for a little bit of a weld. We've seen this before, like 6 months ago or so. We might have even been on the last booster transport stand. We actually saw them using those same little orbital sanders for something to do with, maybe they're doing something to do with the framework up top, the guardrails. So they are actually still working on it, which is good to see. Over there. You can see this flame bucket on some of the ground photos, I guess from over in the mud flats over there. We could actually see some of the welds being quite complete on the flame bucket. Just have to remember to come back here when we go through the different sites. Okay, so any questions or donations to mention now, Joe, for Sanchez?
Yeah, I want to thank Hal9000 for $4.99 super chat, paying it forward since he was having some troubles locating how to join as a member, and then we had Pete 2.0 come in and absolutely bullseye him with a gifted membership. And well, that nice joined as a member and gifted a membership as well, so thank you very much for that. We've got, let's see, Just Martin with a 20-pound super sticker. Thank you very much for that. And then Wilbo Baggins, 2-pound super chat. Support RGV, repeat. Booster 1058, Cashew Crew, RGV, repeat, copycat. I do have a question from Phil, and I'm sorry if we had already addressed that. But I had to step away for a minute. Is the booster transport stand being built? Could that be for Block 2 boosters?
That's a good question. Now, go on.
I kind of have been speculating that the reason they held off on finishing it is because they wanted to use that specifically for the first Block 2.
Now that's dependent entirely on if Block 2 booster has different clamp mechanisms, because which it could do, because I say that because the way the clamps interact in here, it looks different on the new OLM. They haven't got the great big, they don't seem to be as big. So unless there's some variation in the actual clamps, because otherwise the booster transport stand doesn't really have anything on it that would need to be different on a Block 2 booster, except perhaps the clamp. So you may have a good point there, and that's a very good question. Thank you.
All right, excellent. And some late-breaking PayPal donations for the Lens Fund. Jacob H. with a $20 PayPal donation, as well as James H. with a $50 PayPal donation. Thank you very much for that support.
You guys are awesome. That's so good. That's so good. I'm almost speechless. Okay, let's move on to the build site. Just quickly while I'm on those ground photos, because we saw a nice picture of High Bay up through. So High Bay is getting pulled down. We've noticed heaps of glass getting broken and the roof getting cut out. So it'd be interesting to see. We're all waiting in bated breath to see what CSI Starbase Zach does with his next episode and his high bay office. Apparently there's a few ideas floating around as to how that's going to look, so you have to keep an eye out for Zach's new video when it comes out. That'll be pretty awesome to see what he does there. There's so many different things you could do there. It's going to be good to see. So yeah, it's high bay's coming down. It's coming down in no uncertain terms either. They're dropping pieces, literally dropping pieces straight down from up here, which is funny to see.
Yeah, watching them cut it down piece by piece on the streams was pretty cool. They're just letting it rip and tearing that stuff down quick.
So the new crane down here is actually, well, that's not a new crane, that's the crane to build the crane. The new crane down here has been stood up. It's standing up now. And it appears like they'll be cutting basically a reverse procedure of how they built it. They'll be cutting panels out and lowering the large panels down with a crane and using the crane to get rid of the old bridge crane, which they seem to have parked up this end just to help them remove it.
That's correct. Yeah, they even lowered the block on it all the way to the ground just to make sure that it wasn't in the way or things didn't happen while they're getting rid of the roof.
Very good. So they've got to break up this concrete yet. We have seen, it's funny watching this stuff getting, it's raining high bay, not men, it's raining high bay. So they've got that great big safety fence all the way around, so it looks nice and blocked off. I think we got the ground shot in there. So it looks like for most vehicles, I mean, it did drive a booster through here. Booster 16 came in through that gate. I don't have a view straight in. But most other vehicles are going around Remedios Avenue, I would imagine. Because, yeah, they've got this fencing all the way around.
They should be able to move ships down Remedios and boosters. I think they're still keeping this open as long as they can so they can get them out easy.
So, yeah, over here, so this whole fence area and across here as well, I noticed in Lab Padre's Rover 1 camera that this fence is quite up and closed. It's obviously open while the crane's getting assembled and so on. It might even be this fence further on, is it? Yeah, that fence further on, yeah.
Yeah, and they put it up in a matter of minutes. Put it up and take it down in like less than 5 minutes. It's nothing for them.
Yeah, I think they have a forklift on standby just for that. He's been back and forth all day yesterday, going back up and down.
That's correct.
The forklift gate. Forklift gate, that sounds like a conspiracy. Oh, the fence goes all the way in there as well. They've really got it blocked off. There's also a scaffold wall here, so when I drop stuff down here, it stops stuff leaving the high bay at great rate of knots.
Yeah, just for our crane enthusiasts out there, that's a Lemur LTM 11200 that they brought in with, I believe BJ, and from what I saw in the specs, with the current configuration, we believe it's a 60-ton max reach lift and 103-ton in this configuration with the limited reach.
The thing that really blows me away with that crane is they've literally been working on it for a day to have set up. I know parts have been getting here before that, but they literally started setting up yesterday, and it's standing and ready to go.
Yeah, what was funny is the main crane showed up Thursday, and then yesterday they put together most of it and then finished it this morning.
They don't mess around, the crane guys. They really know what they're doing. So I think in the meanwhile, like booster, okay, whichever one flies next, 16 or 14, and we'll talk about that later at the build site. And the ship, I mean, they could bring the ship through here for the next flight, but I guess after that, pretty soon, this is going to be very much impassable for ships and boosters as well when they start tearing this down especially when they start building the Gigabay, obviously. And with that Gigabay being built, obviously they're going to have to drive vehicles, the flight vehicles down Remedios or through Sanchez. But I think some of the people in Show and Tell is saying that they have used this for a vehicle before. I don't remember. As far as I knew, they only ran them through Sanchez. But anyway, we'll soon see.
Yeah, we've seen ships go down Remedios before, but
I mean,
not boosters.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
the way to the Rocket Garden. So I know. I think me and my daughter watched 26 go down that road when we were down there for Crowfest 4. So it's definitely had their fair share of vehicles on it.
But 26 is only a nose cone.
Now,
So they've deconstructed this part of Stargate already, which was just a lean-to that might have been for some of the infrastructure sitting under there, or Elon's car park, whatever. So pretty soon we'll see all this get destroyed as deconstructed as well. And inside, have we got a ground photo of that? Sorry, I haven't looked through these ground photos. I'm not sure we got a photo in through that window. Oh, okay, here's one. We might be able to see some, but the wall they're starting to already put a. Is that a scissor lift? Oh no, that's a beam. They've already started to put posts inside there, and there's even. I don't know. We've got photos of it. Unfortunately, there's even part of the temporary wall already built. If this building wasn't in a way, just in the Star Factory, down in this sort of area, there's already some of the temporary wall paneling already being installed in there as well. So that's well underway to being deconstructed as well. This whole wedge part here, which we can along the
we've been
theme
able to see it.
Sorry, Lauren.
At night, it's been really easy to see whenever one of the cameras pans over to that area.
So I keep jumping on you there.
You all good?
So it ties in with the philosophy around here that nothing's permanent.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Were they already drilling piles in there? I thought someone had. I can't remember for sure. But I thought someone had said something that's going on inside there already.
We saw them jackhammering.
Breaking it up.
We saw them jackhammering, foundations for the columns inside the bay there about a month ago now. Lawrence, was it?
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, but we saw them breaking up the concrete for the new temporary wall footings.
That's what it was. Thank you. Yeah, guess they can't really drill piles right now, but yeah, no, I remembered something.
Very good. So in Mega Bay 1 now we've got so get this right. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Before we go to the build site, Steph, I know we had a lot of questions in chat about Rio West, and Mauricio popped in a picture into live comms. But you finish up where you're at, but let's go there before we actually go to the build site.
Oh, thank you. Yep, we didn't have one show and tell. Thank you very much. I'll just get that now. Well, thank you, Todd.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, so actually there's an image here too of a towable arc welder 300 amp, thanks Blackwater, and it has got an engine on board, so maybe those units at Sanchez are actually powered by a motor, which would make sense. I actually thought that was the case. Just 1 sec, I'm just doing this little bit of, file management in the background there. I'll have that photo in the Massey spelter right now. Okay, thanks. We'll go to Rio West. Yeah, good questions. Yeah, Rio West is worth keeping an eye on. So back to Mega Bay 1. Let me get this straight. We've got Booster 14 over in the back corner. booster 17 in the middle, and booster 16 over on this side. So timeline-wise, and we've got ship 35 and ship 36 fully stacked, and I think 37's up to being the payload bay being stacked on top of the PES dispenser. So production's still very much moving forward.
Yeah, and that would be for flights 9, 10, and 11, which would be flights 3, 4, and 5 of the year, which would finish out the year if the PEA hasn't been updated by the end of the year.
It's awesome being at this, after watching this development over the last few years. It's amazing being at the point now where we're watching all these flights going forward, and not always perfect, obviously, but that's the SpaceX way. And it's awesome to see the flights and to be able to say, the next 3 flights this year, which is pretty good. So it's still a debate about booster 14 and 16. In the sort of scope of things, there's only a couple of weeks between ship 35 starting its engine install and booster 16. So that's not out of the question, but when we get to the build site, we'll have a bit more of a look around there, and we can see how speculation as to which booster might sway one way or the other. Okay, looking around behind the site, unfortunately, Tent 4 is still there. Much to a lot of people's don't like it. Fair enough, and I get it. There's even lots of nice mould and lots of nice water bits. It's looking quite shabby. And my speculation on that is they're still fitting out this part of the newer parts of the factory. Where's the better shot? This shot. This part of the factory is still getting fitted out. I mean, we do notice lots of barrels in that section, but because we're still seeing rings and jigs getting built at Sanchez, I don't think this part of the factory is quite finished yet, which means they can't clear this part of the factory up yet. I figure once they can move whatever's in here out into the factory proper, they may be able to bring the bakery actually into this part of somewhere in here anyway, into the new factory. Or as Americans say, factory. Okay. I've seen it cleaned up a lot in this area. It's nice and tidy, not so many things laying around. So perhaps that means there's more room opening up inside to be able to put things in. There's a nice ship forward flap sitting over there. Oh, excuse me. Okay, that's much around the back, not much else to see there. Let's go over to the new apartment building. I don't think there's no real need for me to speculate into different ships, the different ship and booster designs coming through. We've pretty well discussed all that quite a lot in the last few weeks. So moving on to the new apartment building. This is a 3-story building. I'm not sure whether we showed images from last week. Where do I have? I've got some images here from last week's show and tell. Here we go. As to what this building may look like. These are some artist impressions of the building, of this particular building. This one's a better one. So, all like 4 stories, ground floor, and, well, level 1, 2, 3, and 4. In Australia, we say ground level, then first floor, second floor, third floor, but whatever. The Americans like to speak differently to Aussies.
It's
so
okay,
looking
Steph,
in
we
here,
forgive you.
Hey,
It's okay, we forgive you.
looks like car parking underneath. Look, with all due respects, especially the people in these communities, all due respects to the Americans, I do tease sometimes, but I do it in jest. And I'm pretty sure that's how it comes across. Looks like some residences down the bottom, maybe some commercial commercial lots. Looks more like actual residences there to me. Some car parking, and that's the bottom floor. So I worked out this was Remedios Avenue. I mean, St. Martin's Avenue, was it? Hang on. That's the angle one there. Sorry.
Yeah, that should be memes, and the large one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's San Martin, or St. Martin, or whatever it is.
Yeah, this one's St. Martin Boulevard. Yep. So for now, just putting in piles, and might I say a whole lot of them. There's massive big piles. Massive big piles of them over here. And different to the past, that these have come pre-assembled. The steelwork to go down into the holes for these piles. You can see the concrete machine here. They're actually concreting right now on this particular pile. However they do this little operation, I'm pretty sure they fill it up with the grout mix and then drop the cage in after the grout mix. Is that right, Lawrence?
That's correct. Yeah, and as we see, they have 2 on site actually working, and which is kind of strange because only the residential areas have seemed to get the multiple piles. We haven't seen this kind of work at the launch site, so they really want to get this project done as quickly as possible.
I think that goes to show the different type of contractor. These contractors that do apartment buildings do quite a bit, and they might have more of an idea of how the flow goes to make it faster versus totally brand new, coming up with the design on your own and how to build these buildings with all the different styles SpaceX is using. These guys probably do this all over the place. At least the head people.
That would definitely make sense.
And we got the tester up there. That was really neat to see. I don't know if I've ever seen one of those. The pile tester up there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen one of those as well.
Apparently they bolt onto it, hold on to the pile, and then jack up on it to make sure that the friction is holding it in place, or how much it gives. I'm not sure what the exact testing numbers they're looking for, but yeah, that was nice. That was cool to see.
Yeah, I was looking at that last night. It looks like you can see the round part that actually connects to the pile right there in the middle at the bottom.
So these are friction piles rather than going down to bedrock, because there's probably no bedrock down here till it goes down to halfway through the globe. I mean, it's very deep, And so, yeah, they can pull on to test the friction. The friction is going to be the same up or down, so they figured they can pull up on the... But plus, there are also going to be uploads on the piles. Although only being 3 stories and quite wide, I should imagine it's quite minimal, the actual upload. But anyway, the friction is the same whether you pull up or push down, so not being able to push down without having the actual weight of a building. So to test, they actually pull up with the same weight of the building. And hopefully it passes. Oh, cool. We're going good on time. So from last week, I might even bring up an image actually. Oh, I've got an image here. No, I don't. Hang on. Just give me 1 second here. Last week, they had this concrete poured. All this concrete was poured in this area. So I must have had a bit of concrete, what do you want to call it, itis, or... Oh, we found some funny names for saying that. Oh, this image over here. Oh, hang on. Yeah, this image. Sorry, thanks for your patience there. So all this concrete was poured last week. Now this week all that concrete's been removed, which is a bit puzzling. So perhaps there was a wrong batch, or they did a test on the concrete, maybe there was some cracking, or I'm not sure. Concrete, like 99% of the time, concrete's pretty predictable and pretty easy to lay, and nothing ever goes wrong. It's a pretty good product to use. It's 99.9% of the time it has no failures or anything goes wrong, but for some reason they've dug it all up and starting again.
I know when they're building larger structures, they'll take a sample of concrete out of the load. After they do the slump test, they'll take a sample, make a cylinder, and then they'll put it in a press and see what its failure rate is. But I wouldn't expect on just townhouses that they would need to do that. Maybe they do. I don't do concrete, so maybe they do it on that too. But failing a test is the only thing I can think, unless Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
Agree.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I definitely agree with that. That something must have been wrong, or plans have changed.
Design change. Oh, yeah, maybe that's maybe a good. That might be a good reason. I'm not sure.
I mean, I guess it is SpaceX. It's concrete. We all know that is the least lasting thing there. So, they just did their thing.
Just to answer your question, Todd, usually, I mean, we see structural concrete around, like, say, the parking garage, those concrete panels that are vertical. There's lots of structural concrete around, and like concrete swimming pools, that's like 45 MPa concrete, whereas footpaths are like 12 MPa. This is maybe sort of 20 MPa, megapascal type concrete. Generally, like I said, concrete doesn't fail very often. It's very rare for a concrete slab for a building to fail, as far as in my own experience with concrete, that's for sure. So it's a bit of a puzzle, that one. So that idea of maybe what SpaceX changes their mind on a design, that never happens now, does it? So maybe that's more of the reason. Up to the swimming pool area looks much the same as last week. I did notice last week some tradesmen in here, they may be starting to do a lot of the fit out. I'm not sure if they're laneways or if they started to paint or tile. I have a lot of experience with concrete pools as to build them and tile them and fit them up and so on. So it doesn't look like they're tiled. It doesn't look like it's been finished. Concrete needs a sealant. You need to seal concrete in a swimming pool because obviously concrete's quite porous. So you need some kind of water barrier. And that's why when we tile a concrete pool, the tiles actually provide that seal. And if we don't do that, they'll use spraycrete or a paint. So I imagine SpaceX may use a paint rather than tiling a pool like this, although to tile a pool that size is not that expensive in the overall scheme of things, considering how much money we're actually looking at here. We're looking at billions of dollars here on this site. To tile a pool that size is only maybe $10,000 to tile all that. So I'm not sure if that's been painted yet or not. I think that's about it for the build site. Joe, we got some more questions or donations for the build site?
Yeah, just a second.
No worries. Looking at the sushi bar down here, it's looking like they're finalising that. Looks like it's not quite ready for customers though, but it looks like it's not far away.
All right. I've got, we believe it is our very own guest commentator, Alex H., with 150 for the Lens Fund in PayPal donations and 100 from Callistia Lee. Thank you very much for that. Well, ain't that nice? With a Canadian $20 super chat. Thanks, RGV and team, for the great work. We totally agree. Well, yeah, we totally agree. While there are others that do flyovers of Starbase, none do it like Mauricio, and he's a huge asset to the community. We appreciate it all. I do have a question from Mark. Do you think the Gigabay will be touching Star Factory, and if so, could it have two doors to allow access to the road and inside Star Factory?
Personally, I believe, and always have believed, it was going to be from the edge of the car park, parking garage, all the way to the factory wall. I haven't actually seen a definite plan yet. There is speculation maybe they'll only go to perhaps here somewhere and leave this as a roadway, but I can't see that personally. And I can't say that speculation is wrong, obviously, because this is all just speculation. And I have it on good authority that yes, there's going to be two doors at least onto Highway 4.
I would agree with that, especially for the plans and renders we've seen from the Florida Gigabay. I think I speculate that the Gigabay will come right up to the factory. It'll all basically become one giant production facility. That way, they don't have to get parts in and out out in the open, and they can just take them straight from the factory straight into the bay and stack.
Yeah, it's always been a bit confusing why they didn't actually build Mega Bay 1 up against the factory, to be honest. So once this Giga Bay is in, we could also see Mega Bay 1 torn down and yet another Giga Bay built in here too yet. So something to keep an eye on, maybe. Be nice to see. Because if you think about Giga Bay, I mean, when we saw Mega Bays go up, we thought, wow, what a huge improvement, like on High Bay, which it was, like with the amount of room they could put in, the amount of airframes they could put in there, and the amount of work they could do in there. Like there's 5 stations in this compared to like 3 in here at the most. And now Giga Bay is going to have like, what was the count? Quite a few bays.
24, I believe, is what they want. 12 and 12. So basically, what they're looking at is 4 rows of 6 stations each, with 2 large transfer aisles.
Yep, and a few, like 3 or 4 or 5 400-ton bridge cranes, which is awesome. So yeah, Giga Bay is going to make even the Mega Bays look like Mid Bay or High Bay, really, aren't they?
That's correct.
Thank you, Joe.
Indeed. That's all I got. I got a pending launch site question, but that's all I got in my queue.
Do we want to go to the Rio West before we jump to the launch site?
Thank you. Rio West. I've even got a bit of a shot over to the other side over there. So is it that one there, the outpost? Is that the outpost? Oh, maybe not. I can't remember. Okay, over to here. Let's start with these buildings. So they're starting to frame up the next couple along. They've got some steel framing in amongst here, which could be something to do with shear walling. I'm not sure. The Americans build things slightly different than Australia. We have a lot more horizontal timbers in amongst the noggings. I don't know. We have Phil Kid quite often in our chats, and he's an architect. He's really awesome to listen to talk about and to ask questions about building codes and how houses are built. He's seen just about every building in America get built throughout his long and productive career in architecture work.
I think that's the one we got right there with where the metal goes out and over. I believe it's going to be another story on there. Maybe that'll be living space above it, but yet an open air area below it. That's why they have the steel there to pick up the load. But I'm no filler. I don't know for sure, but that's what I was thinking on that one.
Like a cantilever system.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is looking a lot like a. We have a lot of what are called like fourplexes here in California, and a lot of them are designed like this, where they'll have the carports under on the bottom, and then you'll have 4 units on top.
Yep. So moving along, that's the concrete up to that one now. They're putting formwork ready for concreting, and again, they're not messing around, are they? I've done this. One of my lives was electrician as well, and we do this where you start. You're over here, you do something, and then you move back over here. Something's ready to do here, and then while you're waiting for the builders, whatever, you go to the next one over here. And you might do some of the roughing out, and then while you're waiting for the builders, you move over here and start doing some fitting up. So it looks like they're sort of doing that as well in a nice big long production line all the way around the site, all the way around. Every single block as you go around is at the varying levels, stages of construction from first digging out the footings all the way to lining it with some waterproofing and then concreting and then putting the pillars up all the way through, putting shear walls in, and then finally starting to build the formwork and the framework above all the way through to a finished product all the way down here. Well, it's almost finished, if you know what I mean.
Stephanie, Alex is saying that they're moment frames for the shear load. The metal area.
Cool. Oh, g'day, Alex is with us. G'day. Yeah, I think that's right. So we have, where is it over here? This system here is for shear load, so which is the sideways motion to stop these pillars getting tipped over left to right or front and back. I didn't think they'd do that with steel up in there, but
maybe that's what he meant. Feel free to say something if you if I was wrong or who was right.
Yeah, it's bell-bent frames to keep the walls from racking.
The metal portions or the concrete ones on the lower, lesser finished ones?
Both. The concrete walls are for shear transfer, and the steel is, since that's such a large opening.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Did I hear Joe? Thanks, Alex. Good to see you.
All good.
I was almost going to say Alex is the new Jax, but I won't quite go that far.
No, nobody's Jax.
No, that's
except
true.
Jax.
So the same thing here. If you're listening, Jax, big shout out to Jax. Haven't heard you for a while. Hope you're doing well. Same thing here with these units. They're sort of completing those ones and still building these ones. And in this, well, that's not the right photo. That was my mouse. I blame my mouse for that one. And not a lot of advancement on. I've done another section of concrete, so we're pretty confident this is a parking garage. And then on top, there's going to be the building on top is going to. Let's say this one here might be easy to show it. The building on top will come all the way to the front and sit on these pillars with a carport under, much like what we saw just before. Over here with the parking under here, won't under here be living space as well on the bottom floor or not? Maybe just free space for the flood mitigation, because this is lower down here than up there, so maybe it's something to do with flood mitigation under there.
Yeah, I would suspect they're used for car parts or carports and other utilities instead of actual living space.
Rather large area. Okay, so that's all going. Oh, we've got some. That's what they're doing. Once again, they're following along with what I'm saying. They're working over this side. So they've stopped here and continuing over here now. Well, not stopped. They're up to here with this side. Now they're continuing with all the formwork and concreting over there. And then, again, more foundations getting dug in here. And over this side, still only up to conduit work. So that's all going to happen quite quickly. There's a couple of blocks over here. I'm not sure what they're going to be used for. We are expecting a restaurant here at some stage somewhere. We sort of first speculated it was in that area, but it's obviously not. And that doesn't look like a restaurant. That doesn't look much different to, say, this one here in particular. Actually, it looks exactly the same as that one, doesn't it? So perhaps just another house in that block. Perhaps the restaurant with the views over the river would be maybe this building that's going in here. We've seen a lot of piles get drilled in this area, ready for a building. You might even be able to see. Are they piles we're seeing in there, perhaps?
I would say so, because it looks like that row goes all the way. You can see the even spacing.
Yeah. So that's the Rio Grande with the Mexico right there. It's good. It's nice little border there, the river. Okay, so that's Rio Grande. So let's go over to everyone's favourite, the launch site.
Nothing to see here. Nothing.
Yeah, let's just call it a day. There's nothing there.
Truth.
There's some nice panoramas this week again. Always like to see these nice big panoramas. Just while we've got this image up, we'll just quickly go over to the roundabout, because that's the most important thing here at the site.
Definitely.
It's really taken shape now. Before it was just some dirt moved, but now you can really see the shape.
Yes, so that's going to help. They've made it big enough that a semi truck is going to be able to do a hang a Yui around there. Oh, you guys go the other way. It's going to hang a Yui around that way. See, in Australia, we go around that way, around roundabouts, obviously. But like I said before, Americans like to do things different, so you go the wrong way around.
Yeah, we got to do it counterclockwise.
No, it's
It's anti-clockwise. Come on now.
anti-clockwise. Oh, you guys are funny. All right, let's start with this other image a bit further over. This one here. So, actually, sorry, I'll go back on that. Apologies. We'll start with the concrete. So we saw like 500,000 trucks coming concrete, 300 plus concrete trucks, and it seemed to have made the tiniest little dent in the whole concrete job. So I noticed a post on X from Zach Golden about there'd be up to 1,000 odd concrete trucks worth of concrete eventually being used on the flame trench alone, and we see what 300 odd trucks only filled that bit of the flame trench. I think is pretty accurate. By the time they fill both wall sections, which would only bring up to 1,000 to start with, plus filling in the concrete walls, the concrete steel wall, it's going to be quite the amount of concrete going in here.
Yeah, I was actually expecting to see more done than this, and that really puts into perspective how much deeper this is than I thought. I know there was some leaked images before, and I know it was deep, but I figured 300 trucks would get a lot more done. But yeah, it's going to take quite a bit more still. It's really impressive.
I wonder how hot that concrete still is. Whether it got hot. So there was some speculation last week or the week before about the plywood being used to keep the these rag bolts exposed, and looks like that speculation came true. I think BJ was responsible for that one. Sometimes we get things right. BJ gets quite a few. BJ and Alex get most things right. So he's talking about the wall panels. There's a wall panel. They're talking about not having rebar or Nelson studs inside because these actually act as those rebar or Nelson studs. And there's a name for this, Alex. You said there's a name for this type of construction.
Speedcore, and it's a generic name. I forget it right off the top of my head. It's a composite sandwich structure. The plate acts pretty much the same role as a rebar, and the large tie rods are holding. Think of the web and flanges of I-beams, but filling it with concrete.
It's a composite. It's a composite, not a. What do you say?
It's composite.
Composite. No, it's composite. Tomatoes.
Yeah, composite construction, and on the outside of that beam, that panel section, you can see there are Nelson studs on the outside.
So that could be most likely to fill this little void in here, back here, with some concrete, perhaps.
That's correct.
So even with the difficulties, these photographs, unless you zoom like right in, these images are so full of information. It's awesome.
And about 10:05 a.m. this morning, I think that piece actually got lifted in. I saw a long straight piece lifted next to the gantry.
So down in this side as well.
That's correct.
Now, Kiwi had a count. There was going to be quite a few of these panels, even if it just comes up to the edge of to the height of the sheet piles. So while we're on the trench, so there's obviously this mystery little section. I'm trying a different. This is where Marisha was saying you had to fly over a number of times to actually get the image to work properly. So, 1,000,000 points for doing that because we've got some good images. So there's this massive big void between this outer wall and the piles here. Now these sheet piles are only temporary; they're not structural. Eventually they'll rust out and fall in. So being a void sort of doesn't make sense, but it may be to allow them to put the deluge plumbing in some of the parts here, and then backfill it with some kind of, not slurry or not concrete, but some kind of backfill that's sort of like concrete. What do you call it, Alex? There's a name for it.
flowable fill.
That's it, yeah. So we're all right. So that's, we have to keep an eye out for that. And we thought maybe because of these timbers that the concrete might have gone at least up to here, but obviously it's only gone to the actual floor. I'm surprised they did a cold joint in here, but obviously they got a handle on it. There are products around to help with cold joints to make sure they seal. So moisture ever gets in there, the products expand and create a seal automatically. I used to have to deal with that with concrete pools sometimes. So while we're on this image, we can see they poured the concrete on the first floor, leaving a spot here, perhaps for the cryo pipes to come up. And there's also a spot on the front here. So that's all going to be to do with cryogenics and how this actually ties in with the actual launch mount and the maybe the single or maybe the multiple booster quick disconnects, and I guess some of the water system. I think the water system is going to be mostly that side, but perhaps we'll get fed from both sides yet. So much still unknown that we have to wait to see what happens. Some high pressure pipes here getting installed. There's going to be a ton of plumbing going in here. So it's sort of speculated a lot of the work that the OLM on pad A, a lot of what's inside the OLM is going to be in here rather than on the OLM, to try and keep that OLM a lot more simple and easier to maintain and less prone to damage during a launch, which I think is an awesome philosophy. Design idea. Philosophy's way of doing this in the first place. Right, so I'll move around this side. There's so many things to see this week. Let's try and make our way through them. We can see they've cut the hole. We'll start from here. We've cut the hole on the other side of the bunker. I've been imagining they're going to cut a hole ever since I saw this, a butt to this bunker. There's going to have to be a cutout for the pipes to come straight through. The idea of them going up over the walls seemed a bit ridiculous to me. So they've done that, come through. Expansion joint here with some plumbing already in it. They've poured concrete through, so that'll eventually obviously join up. They're just leaving the roadway open for now. That'll eventually join up with another expansion loop, in here. We've got a conduit, we've got a electrical conduit run to join these conduits here. We speculate these conduits are going to come all the way around via this trench here. There's a massive trench there around the corner here, and possibly join up with at least these conduits here have been run underground.
I've seen them cut holes in other structures, like where they put the form in first and then cut holes. I think it was a sewage transfer station where they put it in the shaft first and then they cut holes once they knew where they were going. Kind of shows that it's a different. I know at first I thought that was going to be an expansion joint in that area where they had to cut the holes, but it turns out it's not. It's more like a valve center or valve area. I can't remember what they said last night, but it's definitely not an expansion now.
In here? Oh, over here.
No, you were right.
Oh, yeah, over here, yep.
Yeah, where they put the bunker in first and then cut the holes to once they had a exact height.
Alex was saying it's a bit more to do with that the loading of the dirt on the concrete wall. Perhaps it was easier to leave it complete until they actually opened up the trench and opened up the dirt away from the hole. And it may have even been marked out in the formwork, and we didn't notice, like even with no rebar. I must look back on photos to see in the past. They may have actually been semi-built into the actual bunker when they actually poured it. So going back to this electrical, a question is why would they be running electrical around here when there's already electrical running in here? I guess one guess is simply that this electrical run through via this under the trench here only goes to the tower, and perhaps that's something to do with communications between the gantry and the tower. whereas the main power and everything for the gantry and everything associated with the OLM is actually going to come around here as a separate run as actual power, and then maybe some communications through that line and maybe some small power, but all the major power looks like it's going to come around here. Okay, I'll go around the other side again. We're going to switch backwards and forwards quite a lot here today. Wow, time's flying. So we can see they've got the pipe racks, well not pipe racks, the bases for some of the water deluge plumbing. Looks like it's going to go in this area somewhere. Remembering, I'll just change photos here again on yours. Sorry, just give me a sec. This one will do. Remembering that there's the pile cap for the tower just in here, so I don't think they'll dig out much more than that. Give me one sec. This photo will do. We've noticed some marks down here, which may be something to do with where they're going to bring the deluge pipes through here, perhaps. Once again, it's only a guess.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they're going to route everything on that side of the tower, water-wise.
Absolutely, yeah. So all the water deluge, yeah, it's going to go down through here. So no, we haven't seen anything to do with water deluge going around the other side at all. I mean, there may be something still go through around this way, but I doubt it.
Yeah, and I've been speculating with the pipes we've seen at the bottom of the OLM that whatever they need to route, they're doing it through the OLM from that side.
Yes, true. Yep. Moving on to the water deluge farm, we can see a four-way manifold under here. Now, this is a bit of crow I have to eat personally, because I imagine like at Massey's they'd bring the pipes out individually and have valves over here at each end like at Massey's, but that's not what's going on here. And in fact, I'm not even sure whether they're going to have valves like at Massey's or another weir like they have on Pad A, to be honest, or siphon if you want to call it a siphon. So interesting to see what they do with valves and or a siphon system for this. I'm really hoping it's a valve system, because it tends to be a good idea to have everything pre-pressurized first and then open up the valves and you've got everything running nicely. I saw a speculation on a different channel that these might be the high pressure gas tanks, but I don't believe that's correct. I'm still firmly believe
Those are
these
liquid
are
tanks.
yeah, they're liquid tanks.
Yeah,
Yeah. They're good on that.
If you
Now they got
zoom in
the
on the valve trains underneath, they're definitely for liquid management.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's all liquid cryo type plumbing for sure. Yeah, 100%.
now those foundation. Oh wait, no, those are the piles in front, right there. Yeah, those are for more pipe wraps. Is that correct, or are we expecting something?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
those are supporting the pipe boy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we thought, anyway, we thought they might have been for something else, but wasn't the case. There's a better angle of it. This angle. Yeah, they're up on stilts. It's a fairly decent pipe. Well, there's an expansion joint, expansion lips. Yeah, so yeah, we thought maybe there might be some. I'm sure there was a photo from that angle. So hang on. It doesn't matter. Apologies for that. Let's go back to this image. Yeah, we thought there may be some kind of vertical vaporizer or something going on here, but it looks like just pipe racking. So that's fairly decent pipe racking. So that may have something to do with the liquid and high pressure nitrogen side of the water deluge farm. I mean, it's right next to all the nitrogen systems, so still a bit of mystery where they're going to put the gas generators like we see at Massey's, just to reiterate that.
Yeah, as I was asking that question, I saw the pipe racks. Like, no, that's not vertical tanks or vaporizers or anything there. But
So I'd say over here we're looking for these. We haven't seen anywhere obvious yet for the gas generation system. If this is what, I mean, there's still only speculation. This is how they're going to do it at the launch site, but we haven't seen anywhere for this system yet. I'm guessing they will do. That will be the same thing in here. But I mean, there's plenty of room. We just haven't seen. I mean, it could even be over this. It could even be over here. We just haven't seen the actual mounts for it all yet. There seems to be something going in here. There's all these stands and new concrete. Maybe it's going to go in over there.
Oh, there's a lot of electrical because right at the top of the frame, there's a bunch of stub outs next to the propellant trench. Up.
Yep, there you
right
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this one of those silly little short runs that don't go anywhere?
No, it's goes all the way back to the switch hut.
Yeah, all the way back through into this one, I believe.
And that slab also has that weird other mystery dip underground, pop back up for the cryo pipes right by that in the center of the frame. Now, coming from the high pressure cylinders, there's that crazy pipe that just dips down and then pops up right around there.
Oh, it's in here, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of like there's a driveway.
There's another new one over here somewhere.
Right. Yeah, right where your hand is. It's probably where the driveway is going to be, or the roadway, and well, they needed to get pipes.
Oh, it's there. Is that right? There's one. No, that's one end.
It stops right there, and it pops up in the slab right by the generator. Yeah.
So this would be a good spot for if we see the larger high or gas generation tanks.
Over here, perhaps.
Perhaps. I was speculating they're probably going to be by that expansion loop by the driveway.
At the bottom?
Yeah, at the bottom of the frame.
In this area?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also another great spot.
That's a lot closer. Like at Massey's, they're quite close to the tanks and for good reason.
Yeah, the plumbing situation. What's going under the tanks?
A bit of a mystery. I mean, with sort of speculation still, there's different sized tanks. There's a wire intersection here. This is going to be a little bit different to what we see at Massey's and a bit different to what we see over at Pad A as well. So interesting to see how that all pans out and where all this plumbing ends up going and which bits come this way and which bits come this way and what happens in amongst all this and where the valves and everything are going to go. Be nice to see very soon. It looks like these might be the same as at Massey's. We see these. Get a better angle, hang on. It's a good thing to drop back to Massey's every now and again to show what could be happening. This pipe that brings these bends that brings the pipes underground. Perhaps they're these pipes here to bring everything underground into the trench in here, perhaps somewhere. Still only speculation though. So that's water deluge. So it's coming along. There's we saw that tank at the port to go in here.
Yeah, I was going to say we got the one more tank. Now that is it. Is that correct? Or I don't see any more stands. That's the last one, right?
There's pads for one more large one, but there's no sign that they're going to install it first.
Okay.
But the manifold they're leaving open on that side, so it'd be relatively easy for them to bolt on another flange.
Yeah, so it's expandable. So already there's like twice the amount of water storage here as what there is at Pad A, which is awesome to see. So these are the same size pipes as Pad A, is that correct?
Yeah, there's 5 and 4 feet.
So there's a potential for putting twice as much water through the same pipes at the same, roughly the same time, or for a longer duration, whatever, for the new OLM and flame bucket. Okay, so that's the there's some more water, obviously some more water pipes over here. To continue, looks like that might be the right angle for that bend. It's not quite 90. It looks like not quite 90. It looks like there's only going to be 2 pipes running through there. The speculation there might be more than 2. By the time you put those 2 pipes here, there's not a lot of room for a third. Definitely not a room for a fourth. So maybe 3, maybe 2. I'd say 2, to be honest. So that'd be 1 perhaps for the bucket dedicated, and 1 perhaps for the pancake on top of the OLM as a dedicated run. But once again, we'll just have to keep our eye on that. Okay, dokie. We have, looks like a transformer pad here. So last week we saw these conduits just run to this area. Now they've opened up even more of the area here. So remember, we've got some mains coming across the road here to some vaults just under this pile of dirt, I guess. They're buried, maybe here. I think they're buried under.
Last week, I think event guy in one of the channels had a very good shot of the from a year and a half ago with the stub outs.
Yeah, the stub outs in here, yeah. So that'll power all this side of the launch site, between the water deluge, the actual, all this flame trench area and the tower and everything, so it's going to get all its power through this transformer pad. Okay, I better keep moving along here.
Do you have the shot of the port where the power bunker was?
We have this shot. So thanks to Starship Gazer. Make sure you give him a follow on X, and his Patreon on Discord is well and truly worth joining. He's quite reasonable price, only a few dollars a week, and he comes up with some awesome ground photos as well, as he's another very important player in the imagery that goes on here for us all to keep an eye on. So we've got his blessings to show these images, and it's now sitting, I believe, near Hopper.
Yeah, they brought it in and parked it next to Hopper. You can see what they're going to do is the same thing they had to do with the Deluge tanks for Pad B. They placed it on, they're going to place it on pipe racks so they can get the trailers out and swap it with the SpaceX SPMTs to actually move it into place.
Yep, so currently it's sitting on a, that is an SPMT under it now, isn't it?
Yeah, those are the modular trailers they use to
they're not propelled. These aren't propelled yet. That's just for steering, isn't it, and suspension.
They're kind of self-propelled, but not like the ones that are used on base.
Yeah. They even have a driver's seat on this one as well.
Yeah, not only did he catch these pictures, there's a couple guys in this picture here that actually built those that he was talking to. And oh no, I can't remember the acronym.
VFD, the variable frequency drives, I believe it is.
Yeah. So the pump controls basically is from what we found out from Stephanie.
Yeah, so what's that? Make Sparkies great again. So it's a Sparky. Yeah, it's a nickname for electricians, it's Sparkies, chippies for builders. Yeah, when you start a 3-phase electric motor up, 3-phase motors are locked to the frequency of the supply. So the frequency of 3-phase, 120 degrees out of phase each, creates a rotating magnetic field. And a squirrel cage in the center induces a voltage, which induces a magnetic field, which follows the rotating magnetic field. And the rotating magnetic field determines the speed of the engine. So when you turn a 3-phase motor on, you can draw up to 8 times the current, because while the motor's not spinning, there's no back EMF. So the engine's in a basic short circuit condition until it starts spinning and starts producing a bit of back EMF. And that was a a couple of months worth of schooling at electrical school when I was an apprentice electrician. So with the variable frequency drives, they just changed the frequency. They've been around for quite a few decades now. They're nothing. Variable frequency drives aren't a new thing by any means. It's just a way to control motor speed and to control the startup current. So I'm not sure why that was particularly noted, because that's only one small part of the whole thing. It's not all about variable frequency drive. That's just one thing. And in fact, in this whole area, there's actually not a lot of... Oh, wrong photo. There's not actually a lot of three-phase motors. Like in the pump stations, quite a few. I suppose there's lots of little things here and there. There'll be a few here and there, but nothing major. And I'd say that the actual drawworks would have its own variable frequency drives and control gear next to it. It may even come over at 1100 volts, being such a big motor, to keep the current down, keep the heat down. So I'm not sure why it was noted that the variable frequency drive was a major thing. It's not really that major a thing.
Probably all it's excessive cooling.
Yeah, they do require cooling, yes, very much so. So they're basically like a switch on and off MOSFET thing, but much more. So convert back to DC, then convert back to three-phase, but in the frequency desired. But that's neither here nor there. So that building's going to get put on these footings very soon. We thought they'd come in two halves, but it came in one whole piece, which is good to see. So that arrived later. It's not in our photos, actually. But it's sitting right there now.
Yeah, there was a shot of it at one of the port photos.
Actually, next to Hopper. Oh, and at the port. Sorry, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I know what you're saying now.
Right there. Yeah, watching that thing come in last night, it pretty much took up the whole road. It was massive on the close-up shots we saw on the live cams.
Oh, I was pushing the wrong button then. So onto the complex bit. Apparently it's not as complex as it looks, but it looks very complicated. Apparently my Windows button doesn't turn my mic on after all. So we can see all of I think this photo is better over here, because it's a bit better to see the pump stations. So as expected, there's 9 pump stations, and I keep thinking that it might be 3 and 6 just to coincide with the way the old tank farm pump system was, but obviously version block 2 and 3 ships are going to have bigger tanks, so it's going to be more like 4 and 5. So 5 tanks for the booster, and 5 pumps for the booster, and probably 4 pumps for the ship on the LOX side. So this is all purely LOX side of things. This whole system in here is LOX side of the whole system. A couple of little things to note. I'm pretty sure it's been talked in the past, but there's this isn't the best photo for this, but you can see a Y intersection here. So the oxygen split into 2 supplies for the supply side of the pumps, and then I think Alex was saying it returns through this pipe into the system. And after that it gets a bit complicated for me. And eventually it's going to come out around back here and come around and go into the trench via this intersection. Nice top-down shot.
this is actually the best shot to see everything.
Yeah. So yeah, in here they've hooked these exhaust pipes up to get into the flow. That's actually quite clever. Do you think they'll put a seal, like fill in these little bit of wall sections there?
Yeah,
Maybe
just
not.
use Venturi effect to draw.
Yep, and we're expecting a similar exhaust system on these hippos here to come through here and go in that little hole there. I'm not sure about these hippos. What did you think? These hippos are going to have their exhaust come in over to here as well, or a second fan unit in here perhaps?
Well, probably will have a second fan unit.
I'd agree with that.
So still lots of bits and pieces, this modular system. I agree with something on the Marcus House saying these aren't buried. It makes it a lot easier if they change their mind or if they need to pull something out. This modular system all above ground seems to be a far more elegant solution to the whole pump system. So I remember over the past few weeks of being installed underneath here, there's a manifold right down low and goes through an expansion joint type system in here, then pops up to the next level up through a basket strainer and a valve, then up into the pumps through another valve, through a check valve, and up out the other side, up to the via the chillers up to the vehicles. Sorry.
Oh, lower on here you could both of the pipes for the supplies. The last of the ship one, and yeah, that's for the ship for
1, 2,
the
3,
pipe
4.
outlets.
For the outlet side, is it for the after the pump?
Yeah,
Yeah. I think
there's further down. There's sets of 2, which are the inlet side. Yeah, right there.
Yep, that one and that one to go down under there to continue the supply side of the pumps.
Yeah, it's the second half from the split. Those were installed yesterday after the flight.
Oh, that's the second supply line we saw over there, I pointed out earlier, isn't it? That's T's off here. And so
Yeah.
the T feeds either the booster pumps. So there's 2 manifolds underneath here, one for these first 5, and then a second manifold, a second hole run from back there. There's a second hole run for these 4, the last 4 here with that. With these 2.
Yeah, cut the velocity of the locks through those pipes instead of having one giant manifold.
Yeah, yep. And that'll be helping with cavitation, a few different things, won't it?
Yeah, it smooths out the flow. And the slower the velocity, it's less energy.
Yeah, there's a thing with fluids in pipes when you start taking the diameters, different diameters, and changing the velocity, the pressures change. There's lots of physics behind fluid dynamics. It's a very interesting subject.
And
It kind of correlates. Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
It kind of correlates to electricity as well when you start splitting things and using parallel paths and so on. Kind of. Now, what were you saying, Alex?
Oh, no, there's the connection from the pump to the left of the frame. There's a white down at the bottom. There's a white tent, and right to the left, there's a sort of then one over pipe. That one is one to connect the pump to the heat exchangers.
In there?
Yep.
Sweet. That still looks like an elbow going down. Oh, it does go down and then across.
No, there's it's an optical illusion. There's 2 elbows heading down because those are the 2 supply, but the heat exchanger flange is right in line, so it looks like they're connected.
Cool.
It's clear from a different angle.
Maybe not that angle. Try this angle.
Yeah, that one works.
Ah, yeah, too.
Yeah.
That's so look like an elbow.
Yeah, they're stacked. Both of them are stacked on top of each other.
Cool. And then it does this, and it does that, and it does that, and does this, and goes through there, and comes back over through there, and out through there, and then ends up going to the ship and a booster. Do you understand that?
It's much simpler than that.
I
Just
got it.
looks like complicated.
I believe that was up, down, down, left, right, BA or AB, something around there like that.
Yep.
Now that gives the ship superpowers.
Oh, okay. I knew it was something good.
They haven't replaced the vaporizers there yet. Was it at Massey's we saw that one with the different bracing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Down towards the old can crusher.
So do you think this is a new design to stop that happening, or is this just coincidental?
No, it's to reinforce, because it's more or less just sitting on the frame with friction.
Yeah. And now they've added all this bracing and actually holding it together properly.
Yeah, I mean, chart on their site, they have these vertical vaporizers that are supposedly rated for hurricanes.
But like I say, vibrations, like acoustic energy from rockets, totally sort of different to actual wind. The actual pressure waves are a bit different to wind. They're more powerful, I guess. Like hitting something with a hammer, you can hit something with a hammer a lot harder than the weight of the hammer, sort of thing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like depending where you are in a room, sound will sound louder just from the interaction with the waves.
And we think this area might be somewhat susceptible because of the way the legs are on the OLM. That there's this gap in the legs over this side seems to line up with this area here. I've seen a bit of trouble with this area. Remember before there was trouble with this area over here as well. They had some electrical. What was that further over? Some electrical.
No, that was
racks. Electrical racks getting blown over as well. And there's another one over here somewhere. There's another pressure wave area over here that seems to get hit from maybe the next opening around. I remember the tanks used to get hit hard, but over here, one of the launches, there was some pipe work over here got damaged as well.
That'll be very good when it's only on 2-axis.
So, as we can see, this modular system's moving ahead nicely. That's going to continue in the next few weeks. Hopefully we'll see some methane farms starting. So far we've only seen locks, and we have some methane chillers here. So in here there's going to be, this whole system is going to be repeated right here for the methane side, except there's only 8 and not 9 as far as I remember.
Most of the plumbing for the heat exchangers is there. It's the skids, that one and that one. Those are pretty much identical to the plumbing setup that's between the two locks. Yeah, that stuff.
Okay, yep, I can see that, yep. And this is all to help with the tanking and detanking, because there has to be a detanking system in here as well. So perhaps that has... Okay, I got it wrong.
No, they changed it. Those are you can isolate the heat exchangers from the system.
Cool.
The detanking there is branching off after that system.
Sorry I stumbled through that a little bit. Once again, Alex, you're a gem at explaining stuff in here, and your patience is amazing, so really appreciate your time on the whole tank farm. I promise I do remember most of the things you tell me.
Yeah, don't worry about it. They change it up so often that...
Let's get away from that area. Just one little thing while we're on this, there's speculation one way or another, the people asking, I've had this question asked a few times, can this pump farm supply both towers? In my personal opinion, I think it can, and I think it'd be silly to repeat all this over here when they upgrade the tower. I can, just as my bit of speculation, it may not become true. This commodities trench we see over here, we may see a new one come through here for the new, once they build the new flame trench and everything. And I can't see any reason why this whole pump farm can't supply both towers, because they'll never use both towers at exactly the same time. They'll launch one and then bring the vehicles for the other one. They may launch one a day after each other, but I can see this being one pump farm to feed both ways. I could be wrong. They may upgrade this pump farm later on, but I just can't quite see it.
If they do upgrade it, I would say it's going to be a couple of years before we see it mirrored. And that's mainly due to the fact that they're still waiting to get the 25 launches a year cadence approved, let alone going beyond that capability in the future.
Okay, looks like they're not actually using this trench at all. They've just pulled it out and going to fill it back in again. I thought they might use it for something, they pulled that out. So we can see some of the pipe racks along here. Continuing along to bring, there's one missing, just to be funny, there's one missing. Oh, that's because they're doing work in here. There's some work in here. They're working on the high pressure nitrogen system. It appears that they're moving everything over to the new pump farm, including the high pressure nitrogen system, which sort of points that they might not use this pump farm even more. I'm showing a photo. I thought I saw some new pipe racks down here. Oh, down here there's some more new pipe racks for something else. Maybe this photo shows it better. Yeah, there they are. There's some more pipe racks down there. I'm not sure how new they are. I don't remember seeing them last week. So this new pipe rack system's for the methane coming from these tanks. Oh, there's the last one getting installed now. And we have an idea that these tanks could possibly be the same size as all of the old methane tanks combined. So we may even see them either got rid of, or I think Alex was saying we may see a heap more of these get put in here as well, depending on their need, I guess. At least there's room in here for more of these methane tanks in here once they get rid of all this rubbish.
Yeah, I kind of also expect when they finally get to the Pad A upgrade, a lot of things are going to change on this end.
Well, we're quarter of an hour overtime anyway, it doesn't matter. So this bit of conduit work here has been buried. We're still unsure whether they're upgrading the whole plumbing, or I'm sort of thinking that perhaps they're doing something more like doing some modification with the ship, and perhaps changing something to do with the ship where they might be using carbon dioxide in the ship instead of nitrogen purging. Perhaps that's just another wild bit of speculation. Perhaps that's what's going on with this new run of pipes going through there. Or they're changing something in the water deluge palm. But I think it's going to be more to do with airframes than the tank palm. And just while we're here, quickly, there's been the right amount, which is a lot, of these water tankers come in over the last few days, which is a general indication that there's a static fire happening soon, which, going back to the speculation of whether 16 or 14 is going to fly next, the booster kind of points a bit more in booster 14's favour, that they're going to bring 14 out next and do a static fire on it again, because 16's nowhere near ready for a static fire. It's going to be another month, say, before it has its engines to do a static fire. So this sort of points more towards 14 going to be the next flight article, but it's still not concrete, I don't think.
I would agree with that. Speculation has been running heavy that it will be 14, and the signs that are pointing to that, not only the Deluge getting refilled, but they've also had the BQD pressure test rig on the BQD this past week. So they're getting close to something.
It's actually in there, isn't it? The testing thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's still on there or not, but it attaches to the front of the BQD, and you can tell it has like two domes on the back with some piping coming off of it.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to see in amongst that. Oh, there's a close-up of the roundabout. They got one half of it concreted and the other half... They did, didn't they? They concreted that, didn't they?
I believe that's just gravel.
Oh, just gravel, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
road base.
Yeah, the road base, yeah. Okie dokie. So the OLM's sort of under its normal sort of refurb work for the next launch, which I guess it's could be sooner than we thought. In the past, we would think that a crash investigation would take some time, but the FAA seem to have streamlined things there and letting SpaceX move forward with their launches with the report still open like the last flight, but I'm thinking maybe two accidents in a row. They may have a bit more time to do may need to require a little bit more time with the paperwork. But I can see with the FAA being revamped a bit, especially to do with rocket flights or even to do with SpaceX to a certain degree, but as far as rockets go, they seem to be getting a bit more streamlined there and getting paperwork through a lot quicker these days. Okay, we'll have a quick look at a couple of ground photos just quickly, and then we'll wrap it up with some questions and donations. Not a lot to see. There's some nice... Actually, now I say that, there is something that I picked up in the show. We have a new feature on the new chopsticks. It appears we've got a torque rod through here, and anyone has anything to do with, say, drag racing or motorsports in general at all, you'll know that there's anti-sway bars. So we're thinking this is an anti-sway bar, but not so much to stop sway, but to say that this is the pad A, so that when this side of the landing rail is lifted or lowered, this end will follow exactly, because remember, we've seen this landing rail come up on an angle at times. I think some of the landings we see, when we see it go down, it goes down, it doesn't go down parallel, it goes down on an angle. So well, a good image taken here by RGB again. So in here there's, I think we've got another photo of it yet, but it looks like a torque tube with a linkage on it and an arm. I thought we had another photo. Let me look. Now, it might have been one of Starship Gazer's photos. Yeah, it was, I think, that showed it in a different light.
I think it was one of his videos.
Oh, that's right, his video. On X, wasn't it?
YouTube.
I'll bring that up, actually. Just quickly. So yeah, it's an interesting development, and this is the first time that we've actually noticed this in any of the imagery. Well, I think Starship Gazer showed it during the install, but we didn't pick up on it. Give me 1 sec to find that.
I think the link was still in Patreon.
Oh, it is too. Thank you.
That was definitely an ingenious idea to put that on.
Hang on, where'd it go? Hang on 1 sec. Sorry, hang on 1 sec. It's back of the... Oh, there it is. No, it's not. Hang on. Where is it? I've got it. Sorry. I was in the wrong folder. Silly me. There it is. I should have had this loaded up first. Oh, look out, I've got ads, because I don't pay for premium. I'm sorry, I apologise. We're having an election this year, not being political. Sorry, shouldn't have said that, but anyway, we get ads. Get off. That's my local area. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologise for this. I should have had this loaded up already.
Oh, I was watching that.
It always happens when you're live, doesn't it? Okay, so this is some Starship Gazer. So in here we can see that's on the fast chopstick. First we can see the torque rod through there and the moment arm and the linkage. And this is the bottom. You can see through there, if you look closely, you can see the pads on the catch rail, and that's the bottom of the catch rail where this linkage attaches to try and help keep that whole system parallel. And over here again we can see coming up in here as one end of it. You can see one end of it here, so there'll be there's an arm, there's the torque rod up in there which finishes just behind here. So there's an arm coming down there and there's the linkage for this side. And in the middle there's in the middle here there's some kind of, I guess it's some kind of bearing, a support for it. So once again, do yourself a favour and go and subscribe or be a member of, or at least subscribe and like the Starship Gazer. It's well and truly worth the effort, and it's not much to support. It takes very little effort to support all the content creators here at Starbase, and it helps them out in a big way. Just to like and subscribe on these videos, and to like and subscribe on our videos, for instance, as well. It makes a huge difference to our channels, and it's a very easy thing for you guys to do. Just a couple of quick clicks, and you've done us a huge favour. I think that might be the first time I've actually said like and subscribe on these live streams. So that's an interesting new development which I might just finish up on. So thank you for your patience there, getting that silly video up and running. Now I think we've covered everything at the launch site. There's just, like I said, a couple of ground photos. I suppose I should just go through a few. Sort of shows some of the... There was a good photo here showing in detail, which we haven't seen yet, of the new cable tray guides. So there's guides in here. I don't think it matters. We're a bit over time. I don't think it matters. So the cable tray guide here keeps the cable tray up against the tower, and there's a little gap here to allow the cable tray to come through, to allow the actual chopsticks to come through, because otherwise you'll run into it. And then on the way, it's mostly for the way down, I think. So when the chopsticks are way up high, as this loop is descending, this guides here help that loop stay straight and stay close to the tower, which we saw that having to be installed on pad A, I believe, as well. Okay, quickly moving through these. That's Tower A. That's Tower A, isn't it? Yeah, Tower B, I mean.
Yeah, that's Tower B. And last night we saw the chopsticks actually raised all the way to the top for the first time.
Better show this little tiny bit of ugly here. This is still not properly run, this cable. Still just on rollers, just sitting there when they installed the actual cable. And that's the dead end clamp, assembly clamp, or brake, whatever you call it. So this piece of cable's under tension, and this end isn't. So you remember that the cable goes up to the top of the tower, then from the drawworks, then down and around this pulley, up and down, and eventually comes back down the tower and terminates. Well, not terminates, it gets locked off here, and that allows them to run more cable through the whole system if the cable gets deteriorated or whatever over time. I guess that's the main reason for it. And we can just see in amongst here, we can just see the actual dead end drum, and we can see the drawworks over the other side. Actually, this is a better one for the roller here. It's kind of like still very temporary. There's a nice good view of the gantry. Members, you all have access to these images, I believe. I think this whole gallery, I think all the members, YouTube and Patreon members, have these photos now. Well and truly worth giving Mauricio a follow, and just being a member on YouTube, you get access to a lot of these photos as well without actually going to being a Patreon member. But if you become a Patreon member, you get to join in our weekly or when flyover show and tell sessions. And last night we had a ripper. It was a really enjoyable show and tell session last night. We mentioned the new camera lens, and like Joe said, within 15 minutes, just the patrons alone had contributed to 80% of the funds required. I still don't like these crooked pipes, they annoy me. Some of that new, where is it, one of these photos? Show the new, in here there's some new nitrogen in here still going ahead. This photo, yeah, over here. So you can see them using a chain block in here to hold that pipe up or whatever. And where's the other one? The other chain block's in here somewhere. Let me find it. That must be a different photo. They had chain block wrapped around the pipe, which is not how you normally use a chain block, but it's called what? It's called poetic license.
Innovation.
Okay, so Joe, we'll go into questions and donations and we'll wrap it up at that. You've all had access to those. There's not a lot to describe in there. Just more of the same sort of work going ahead. It's all going ahead nicely. There was a debate whether this gap's big enough if they want to bring this pipe out or not. That might be interesting. So yeah, thank you, Joe.
Sure thing. Thank you. And thank everybody for all of this massive support. I got a couple more donations I'd like to acknowledge for the Lens Fund in PayPal. From Patrick W., $20, a small contribution to equipment. Keep up the great work. And Boss Z, a $25 donation. Let me enlarge this one because it's a little small. Brian McD, $50 PayPal donation for the new lens. Love what you do, he says. Brianna Matthews, $60 donation. Photo Stuffs. Forgot to drop some more from yesterday's show and tell. Well, much appreciated, Brianna. Thank you. And from Crane Man, 2 separate donations totaling $90. Hi, Mauricio. Here's my donation for a new lens or fuel. You have to decide what is helpful for you. Kindest regards, Crane Man. And then I want to thank Callistia Lee for a $25 super chat. Thanks for the awesome show, she says. And Ironclad for a $99.99 super chat. No message, but thank you for that support. Nabi Clark became a member, so thank you very much for that as well. I have a question from Missing Tools I've been saving up from a couple hours ago. For launch site pad B gantry, what's the thoughts for the method of retraction for this booster QD? Not Falcon 9 style like we originally speculated. So the method of retraction for this BQD, what do we think?
A good question.
I don't think the mechanism's shown its head yet.
That's correct. We're still waiting.
Or even if there is such a thing yet, we're still, obviously there has to be some kind of retraction system for the BQDs, but yeah, we haven't any indication of that yet. Thank you, Joe.
All right. And I have one final question in my queue from Lewis Nags. How many levels of wall do we expect to be placed in the trench?
Depends on how high it comes up, especially on this side, whether it comes up, because the BQD, I think, Alex, as you're saying, the best guess is the whole OLM will be basically the bottom of the OLM down there and the top up here. So it depends on how high they actually end up building it. But the estimations are between a lot and quite a lot? That's another good question. We're not sure yet.
It's probably around 4 to 5 rows to ground level.
And then whether they go higher than that or not, still probably open to speculation. Speculation.
It's only on the upper section. On the outer columns, does it look like there's a mechanism to connect it on the first Aussie floor, second American floor?
Oh, those tabs, you mean?
Yeah, but further down, yeah. The gantry side or the wing wells have more tabs, so if I were guessing, the QDs are going to probably be off those structures.
So you're still thinking too, like on the angles over here?
Perhaps.
Yes, there's even speculation still not about whether there's going to be how the retraction system works, but how many BQDs they're going to be, and like literally whether it's going to be right here in the middle or over that side or this side, or where it's going to be until we see booster, until we see test tank 18.1 come out, which should give us some indications. It should tell a lot, actually. The 18.1 test tank, we should get a lot of answers to some of those questions. Great question, thank you.
All right, that is all I have. I do believe the magic man behind the camera would like to say a few words. Mauricio?
Yes, I want to thank everybody for supporting and donating today towards the new lens. I do have good news. We have enough for that new lens, the 400 to 800 millimeters. So definitely an upgrade. Glad we can reach that goal. We even went over just a little bit, and that could go towards oxygen. Oxygen's a ongoing expense I don't think it's gonna go away. It's $100 every time we refill. And at this point, it's probably gonna have to get done every 2-3 flights at this point, because we're already down to a quarter and we refilled it. When does anybody recall? Was it the previous flight that we filled it up? I think it was.
Yeah, flight 200.
Yeah, and we're already down to a quarter, and we're probably gonna have to refill after the next flight. So thank you so much for all that. Oh, and by the way, Fred's extremely happy with the oxygen. He actually told me that this is actually one of the best investments we've made. Being comfortable up there. We can do the flight without the oxygen, but it takes its toll after the flight. So he's really happy with that. I want to thank everybody for keeping up the support. If you still want to support for all that, it's totally up to you. We'll leave up the PayPal link for more oxygen down the road. Right now we have oxygen for about like 2 flights. 2 refills at this point. So happy with everybody's generosity. Thank you so much. And back to you, Joe.
All right. Thank you, Mauricio. Appreciate your comments.
All right, I'll jump in if you want, Joe, and sign
Please
off.
do.
I'll sign off. Lawrence, thank you for joining us today, Lawrence.
Thank you for having me, and thank you to our community for all the great support. Like I said earlier, we can't do this without you, so we really appreciate this.
And thank you, Todd, for jumping in today. Really enjoy having you on the shows.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I love being here. I appreciate everybody out there. I'm glad we could make this all happen for Mauricio, because we will all gain from it. So great work, everyone. I'm very proud of you. Let's keep it going. Everyone have a great weekend, and I will talk at you guys later.
And as always, Alex, we really appreciate your knowledge and your patience for explaining these things over and over and over and over again to us. So appreciate your time today, Alex. Thank you for jumping in.
You're welcome. It's good to just pop in really quick.
Yeah, Alex was a pop in today. He wasn't actually scheduled, and we saw him there. We asked him to jump in, and he did. So I'm going to sign up. I'm Stephanie B, Aussie Space Girl, over on YouTube, and I appreciate you all. This community is just amazing. I'm just going to reiterate Mauricio's words and my own words that thank you so much for your support with new camera lens, and yeah, be sure to like and subscribe and so on, all those sort of lovely things. And I'll get Joe to thank all the crew and sign us out. So see you next time. Bye.
Yeah, right on. I will echo all of those sentiments. So thank you, Steph and Darth and Todd and Alex. Always a pleasure joining the show with you guys. And thanks, Emlyn, for turning the knobs and pushing the buttons. Thanks, Cumulus Granitis, for fielding some questions in chat there. We appreciate you as well. And to all who donated and supports RGB, we appreciate you bunches. Most engines cut off, hot staging confirmed. Love you, bye.